What up, y'all? It's your boy Jay, and welcome back to another episode of Comic Chaser. It's time for me to give you guys a fresh shot of pop culture. So, this time, we've got another pretty thick stack of comics, but thankfully for you guys' attention spans and my wallet, next week is going to be really light. We're only going to have 2 books, and we're actually going to cover 2 trades that week that I picked up this week. As a little birthday present to myself. Well, thanks to my boy Corey. So next week we're gonna be covering Zatanna, Bring Down the House by Mariko Tamaki with art by Javier Rodriguez, and X-Men Volume 1, written by Jed MacKay. I don't know who did the art, but I know Jed MacKay wrote it. It's the current volume of X-Men with the team of Cyclops, Psylocke, Quentin Quire, Magic, and Juggernaut. So, heard good things about it. I've been looking forward to checking out a post-Krakoa era X-Men team book since I've been enjoying the X-Men solo books so far. But yeah, we've got, I think, 6 books to cover, so let's get down to it. You guys should know the drill by now. I basically kind of treat these reviews like a countdown. We start with the book that I enjoyed the least but still liked, and then we end off with my pick of the week. As per usual with these videos, I will be discussing spoilers since I'm going to be going in depth on each comic. So if you haven't read any of these issues, be sure to check them out first, and then once you've read them, come back and tell me your thoughts in the comments down below, as always. And don't forget to do all the usual YouTube things. Leave this video a like and a comment down below, as well as hit that subscribe button if you haven't already, so you don't miss any of my new comic reviews that I do every single week. And we will also be talking about, some of the big things that have happened this week in terms of comic news and stuff. One of which being that the identity of all the identity of all new Venom got leaked. So I already knew before even reading the issue who it was. But now that I've actually read the issue and have full context, I actually have an opinion on it, which might be different from a lot of people's, actually. So we'll talk about it when we get there. But first, we're going to talk about Marvel Rivals issue number 1. This is a one-shot based on the hit a hero shooter, Marvel Rivals, which is a game I'm totally not addicted to. I'm a Cloak and Dagger main if you guys are interested. I also play other strategists. I mostly play strategists. The DPS that I like to play are Wanda, because I can't aim for shit. And, I mess around with other characters as well. I have a lot of fun with Magneto. I play Venom a little bit. But, mostly play Cloak and Dagger, because they're just a lot of fun. You can use Cloak for offense, Dagger for healing, and they have just a bunch of cool skins. Rivals is a really good game, and one of the reasons I picked up this comic is because the lore of this game is really interesting. If you guys don't know the actual lore behind Marvel Rivals, it's basically the 616 Doom, or a version of 616 Doom, and Doom 2099 basically get into a conflict with each other where they both use time travel simultaneously and kind of create this time stream entanglement, which is basically like a temporal version of an incursion, which ends up mixing and matching a bunch of different universes together and different timelines. And so our team of intrepid heroes and villains have to go around to all these different areas and try to stop the Dooms and untangle the time stream. The lore for a lot of these characters and these specific versions of these characters is really cool. Because I'm a huge nerd, have read all the lore pages on the various characters, and I think they're awesome. So when I heard there was going to be a one-shot, or at least there was going to be a comic for Marvel Rivals, I was like, oh, finally, we'll actually get a comic depicting a lot of the stories that are in, the lore pages, and, ironically, the little comics that are in the game. Nah, I was wrong. This whole issue is just kind of essentially one convoy match set in the Tokyo 2099 map. And while it was fun, and you get to see a lot of good character dynamics, especially like really good moments between Peter and Penny Parker, it was just okay. Art was good, the characterization was fun, but I was here for the lore, and I did not get much lore, so I was definitely disappointed. If you're a Marvel's fan, though, and you haven't read any of the lore pages and you just want to see these characters interact, it's definitely worth a read. I mean, it is just a one shot. It is a collection of the like a bunch of those Marvel Infinite digital chapters, so it feels a lot shorter, uh, and a lot like quicker pace too. So it's a very easy breezy read. So like I said, if you like the game and maybe like you got into Marvel because of Rivals, because I know there are some people who weren't huge Marvel fans that got into Marvel and Marvel stuff thanks to the game, you might enjoy this. This might be a good starter comic for you. All right, well, second comic in, and we're already here. Let's talk about All New Venom, issue number 5. All New Venom revealed, with written by Al Ewing and art by Gomez. I forget what your first name is, and I don't really feel like opening the book for it. I apologize. But, yeah. So, I'm just going to cut to the chase here. All New Venom is Mary Jane Watson. Alright, Marvel. I'll give you this. I didn't see that shit coming. And 2, thank fuck it wasn't Paul. If it was Paul, like everybody was memeing all around the internet, I would have been fucking pissed. Because who the fuck actually likes Paul? Marvel Editorial and Tom Brevoort, maybe. Or, not Tom Brevoort. Tom Brevoort isn't the Spider editor, it's Nick Lowe. Maybe Marvel Editorial and Nick Lowe like Paul, but they're the only people that unironically like Paul. But, hear me out. Everybody I've seen on the internet so far, or at least a vast majority of fans that I've seen in the YouTube comic community, are really annoyed and upset by this reveal and choice, which I totally get. I've always been firmly in the camp of Spider-Man supporting cast should not just be filled with people with superpowers. The only member of Spider-Man supporting cast where them getting powers really worked out and actually vastly improved the character, even the character was pretty awesome before then, was Flash Thompson as Agent Venom, ironically enough. But MJ is one of those characters that was always such a good grounding force in Peter's life that, like, her getting powers always seemed really dumb, which is why I was super against the whole jackpot thing. Which apparently has some kind of tie to why she is Venom now, but we'll find that out in the next issue. The reason why I am actually more on board with this choice than a lot of people might expect is because of the potential here. The reason why I think this has a lot of potential in terms of a concept is because of Venom and MJ's unique connection. Now, what is that unique connection, you might say? Well, if you're a longtime Spider-Man reader and you've read through the Alien Costume Saga, then you'd know that Mary Jane is absolutely terrified of Venom for good reason, because as Venom, Eddie Brock has traumatized the living hell out of her to fuck with Peter. And also, because, even though Venom technically identifies as male, apparently, I've always thought of Venom having, like, the personality of a jilted ex. Not to say that, symbiotes can't be gay or whatever, but, that's another conversation here nor there. So, like, he treats Mary Jane, Venom treats Mary Jane, at least when, they were bonded with Eddie, a lot like a bitter, jealous ex-girlfriend who's angry at their ex's current girlfriend. Like, Venom felt like MJ was the one who got in the way of their relationship with Peter, and why their relationship with Peter had to end. So, like, they always had this bitterness towards MJ. So, like, them putting aside their differences and also MJ getting over this trauma to actually not only, like, bond and understand Venom, but to forgive Venom for the literal years of torture that it's put her through has a lot of really good story potential. And normally, I would agree with you if you'd say, like, Jay, I think you're overinflating things, you're just being too optimistic, there's no way they do this. But you guys, this is written by Al Ewing, the dude who gave us the Immortal Hulk, and was able to do a really good job of taking over Venom after Donny Cates' epic run. So, if anybody could do this, I believe Al Ewing could do it. So I'm willing to trust Al and join on for the ride. But that's why I waited until issue 5 to, like, pick this series up, because I wanted to wait until Venom was revealed before I really decided if I wanted to read this week to week. I mostly kind of just flipped through it in the comic shop to see what was going on, and I watched videos to, fully get explanations. But yeah, I'm on board, man. I think this has a lot of good potential, and if done right, this could be a really good change for MJ. And who knows? Maybe we're lucky, and, Venom bonding with MJ, part of that will be Venom being like, hey, MJ, this Paul guy kinda sucks. I bonded with Pete during the Venom War. He's a pretty changed guy. He's a good dude. Maybe you should give him another chance. This is me just projecting, obviously. I don't think Venom is gonna wingman Pete for MJ, but you never know. Besides, we know it's not gonna happen because Nick Lowe said directly that Peter and MJ can date, but they will never ever be married, ever. Whatever, fuck you, Nick Lowe. But yeah, either way, I'm actually very excited to see where this new direction goes moving forward. But yeah, that's all new Venom. Alright, moving forward, we have Ultimate X-Men issue number 14, written and drawn by Peach Momoko. The reason this book is so low on the list is because nothing really happened in it. Like, we get more of the fight between, Dark Hisako, Kageyama, and Maystorm and the rest of their friends. But, like, most of it has to do with Viper and the Maester, and, like, them basically explaining, like, that they have Hisako and Kageyama trapped in these tanks that have them sent to the astral plane, but that also doesn't explain how the kids end up in the astral plane. But I guess it was probably Nico, and I just missed it and wasn't paying attention, because Nico does have magic, so that could be a thing. But who knows? But yeah, nothing really happens in this issue until, like, the very end, where, like, we get the kind of, like, big revelation that now the children of the Atom are gonna start, enacting their big push on proving their, like, superiority by basically committing various acts of terrorism around Japan to kind of show the power of mutant kind, which is kind of weird considering, like, that, like, they need to do this flex, that because like, the Eurasian Empire, controlled by the Rasputins in the Ultimate Universe, like, the backbone of their power is the fact that a lot of their territory is bolstered by, like, controlled military-sponsored mutants. So, like, I don't know why, like, mutant kind seems to be a secret in Japan in the Ultimate Universe. This book continues to feel really separated. And I know before I was talking about how, like, that didn't really bother me that much. But it's starting to really stack up. Now that I'm getting more invested in the Ultimate Universe, the fact that this feels so disconnected really gives me a harder time of getting invested in this particular X-Men book, especially because stuff like Ultimate Wolverine actually has ultimate versions of the X-Men that I like know and love, like Kitty Pryde, Gambit, Wolverine, Nightcrawler, Mystique, people like that. So like, I'm gonna still keep up with Ultimate X-Men because the concept is still really interesting and it's very unique. But it's not as high on my list of Ultimate Universe books as it used to be. And that's kind of sad. But yeah, that's Ultimate X-Men issue number 15, or 14. Alright, next up on the list we have Absolute Superman, issue number 6. So this is almost entirely a flashback episode, or issue. This is written by Jason Aaron with art by written by D. Minico. I apologize if I mispronounced your name. But yeah, this all takes place in Smallville and kind of like tells the story of Kal-El's like, first time on Earth after he crashed post disruption of Krypton. So this fully debunks and disproves the theory of Laura and Jor-El like making it to Earth with Clark or Kal and like just taking on the alias of John and Martha Kent, because John and Martha Kent do turn out to just be ordinary Kansas farmers who take in this crashed alien boy who Martha sees as this angel from the sky. And, he does feel kind of this kinship with the Kents and this kind of sense of belonging and home in Kansas because, in the Redlands, very much Clark's parents were blue-collar farmers almost in the lava plains. So, like, it feels very similar to home for him, and it kind of, like, resonated with him a lot. Which makes a lot of sense. I mean, like, it's kind of almost a universal constant that, like, Clark Kent belongs in Smallville. So that was really interesting and unique. And it's really cool seeing kind of Clark. I keep wanting to call him Clark, but technically his name is Kal. Kal. First adjusting to his powers, learning how his suit soul works and things like that is really cool. And like seeing him do kind of his first act of rebellion against the Lazarus Corporation by destroying all those drones so that the Kent's farm can actually like receive rain and like have their crops be watered, which, man, it's really fucked up that the Lazarus Corporation like set up those drones purposely to dry out the Kent farm so that they would sell off the farmland. But yeah, the other big thing is like Lois is obviously investigating anybody with any sort of connections to the Superman. So she ends up going to Smallville into the senior center to try and interview Ma Kent. And we don't really get to see anything further from that, but that's where the plot line ends for her for now. But we do get to see who is working alongside Brainiac as part of the Lazarus Corporation, as the head of the Lazarus Corporation. And it's who we thought it was. I mean, it's called the Lazarus Corporation, for God's sake. But I was still surprised because, like, it's a Superman book, and it's involving this character. And it's enough beating around the bush. Yeah, the head of the Lazarus Corporation that is working alongside Brainiac is none other than the man, the myth, the legend, Ra's al Ghul. What? Ra's al Ghul as a Superman villain sounds really interesting. Especially because, like, this version of the Elves were very similar to the main universe version, like conservationist and environmentalist scientists. So, like, having an eco-terrorist character like Ra's al Ghul be this Superman's villain makes a lot of sense. Although we don't actually know if Ra's al Ghul in the Absolute Universe is an eco-terrorist, so I guess we'll find out the more we learn about Ra's. Also, I'm still not giving up on Jor-El and Laura still being alive. I think they might actually be in the bottled city of Kandor, maybe. Even though, we did technically see, like, a lot of Krypton get destroyed in that final explosion. Maybe they ended up in Kandor, who knows? All I know is there's no way in hell Jason Aaron killed Crypto, because he knows if he killed Crypto, we would all riot and drop this book in a heartbeat, no matter how good it is. But it is still good, so, kudos to Jason Aaron for kicking ass on this book. Alright, moving on to the next brand new Absolute book that came out this week. This is Absolute Green Lantern, written by Al Ewing, of all people. Yeah, Al Ewing is just getting out here, kicking ass, taking names on multiple titles, with art by John D. Lindsay. I apologize if I mispronounced your name. This is really interesting. So, this is basically, what if Green Lantern was like a sci-fi horror book, almost? That's the vibe I got from it, at least. So, we don't really know much from this first issue. A lot of it is built on a mystery. And that mystery is what happened in Evergreen, this small town where Joe, the original, like the new Black Green Lantern that was created a few years ago that looks a lot like Janelle Monáe. She does not look like Janelle Monáe here, but her original design for the main universe, she looks a lot like Janelle Monáe. Hal Jordan, John Stewart, and apparently Guy Gardner all live. Where's my boy Kyle, though? Justice for Kyle, my favorite Green Lantern. Not here yet, I guess, but we'll see. So, we know for sure Abinster does show up, and Hal does get access to a weapon. But that weapon is not a Green Lantern ring. What it looks like is Hal gets possessed by the Black Hand. But Black Hand is not just a Green Lantern villain who started off as just kind of this joke character originally, but then turned into like an acolyte and a vessel for Necron, the Green Lantern god of the dead, essentially. But like the Black Hand almost seems to be acting like, if you've ever seen the anime Parasite, one of the parasites from that species of aliens, and it's like kind of attached itself to Hal's hand/arm and responds to danger and basically kills anything it perceives as a threat to Hal. And that is insane. And then at the very end, when like Hal is being like attacked by this dude at a diner who is like kind of scared and paranoid and like starts shooting at Hal, like Joe busts in to the diner and like confronts Hal, but she looks different. Like her speech pattern and cadence is written a lot different than when we see her in the flashback when her and Hal are good friends in that town of Evergreen. She almost looks possessed because her eyes are completely blank and just glowing green, just like on this cover. So, like, is the Green Lantern in this universe kind of like, do they all work like the Indigos? Where, like, they're kind of this hive mind of aliens that possess different vessels and, like, they go around just killing things? I don't know, but that's the vibe I got. I could be completely off, and, if I'm totally wrong, I will make a correction when issue 2 comes out, but that's the vibe I got, and, that's how I'm interpreting it right now, and I gotta say, as a fan of sci-fi horror, I'm about it. I really like this. Like, Al Ewing is channeling a lot of his like creativity into this, and I'm getting a lot of the same type of vibes I got from Immortal Hulk, and we all know how good Immortal Hulk was. I mean, shit, that series outsold Batman at one point. Will this end up selling out, outselling Absolute Batman? That's a tall order because Absolute Batman's pretty fucking good, but this definitely has a lot of potential. Probably more potential even than Absolute Flash, and I really liked Absolute Flash. But to be fair, I am a much bigger Green Lantern fan than I am a Flash fan, not to disrespect the Flash. But as a kid growing up, I read all of Jeff Johns' Green Lantern run as it was coming out. So, like, that this particular corner of the universe has a special place in my heart. So I really want to know what this twist on the absolute version of the DC comic cosmic side kind of has to offer. So we'll definitely see. I'm excited. Moving on to my pick of the week for this week. It is Daredevil Cold Day in Hell. Issue number 1, written by Charles Soule with art by Steve McNiven. What a fucking creative team right here. Charles Soule, who has one of the best runs on Daredevil in terms of modern post-Frank Miller Daredevil. And that's saying a lot because Daredevil is one of Marvel's most consistent characters in terms of consistently getting banger run after banger run, even though the current Solid Ahmed run is kind of... Nah, it ain't it. At least not for me. I'm not reading it, personally. I dropped it very early on after Zdarsky finished, and I gave it, like, maybe 2 or 3 issues. And I was like, yeah, no, this ain't it. I'll jump back in when there's a new creative team. But this is a new Matt Murdock Daredevil series written by Charles Soule. So, of course, I had to pick this up. And this is a really interesting kind of alternate universe miniseries idea. This feels like Old Man Logan, but starring Daredevil. It's not set in the Old Man Logan universe. It's a completely different universe, but the reason I say that is obviously because Daredevil is old as hell, and at this point he had lost his powers. We don't know through what mechanism, but he apparently lost his powers sometime before the war, which is this nebulous conflict that we don't know anything about, but they only briefly alluded to in this first issue. And, like, towards the end of this issue, he ends up saving a young woman during this kind of big radiation explosion. And the radiation from the explosion actually reactivated Matt's radar sense and his enhanced senses and other superpowers, his Daredevil powers. So it effectively brought Daredevil back. And, this woman was important enough that, like, Cap was involved in her rescue. Unfortunately, Cap didn't make it, but he tasked Matt with saving this woman and protecting her. So we'll see what this is all about. Apparently, like, the antagonistic force is like a group of people called DBs, and it was spelled like DEEBEES. So who are the DBs? What do they want? Like, were they the ones that caused this war? Like, what is this whole conflict about? Who knows? Hopefully we'll find out. We did hear on, like, a news snippet that, the military is being led by a General Barton, which I assume is probably Clint Barton. So, who knows? Hawkeye is the new Thunderbolt Ross, maybe? I'm very interested to see what this world has to offer. Just because it has just a really interesting setup, and one of the big bad guys in this universe that they revealed at the very end, who has the Punisher kind of locked up in a torture basement, is none other than Bullseye. Because, of course, I mean, it's a Daredevil book. Bullseye is Daredevil's, like, ultimate big bad. Like, yeah, Kingpin is definitely, like, Daredevil's #1 villain, but they already showed, literally frame 1, that Big Willie's dead in this universe. So, if Wilson's dead, next up is Bullseye. 100,000%. And if anything, you could make a very solid argument that Bullseye is an even bigger villain for Matt than Kingpin because of just all the pain and torment that Bullseye has directly inflicted. Now, granted, Kingpin was pulling the strings on a lot of that, but Bullseye did the dirt. So, like, Bullseye is definitely a big antagonist, and a good old-fashioned back and forth between this grizzled old Matt Murdock and grizzled old psycho Bullseye. I am totally here for it. I love McNiven's art. It felt very cinematic. I could totally see this as like a Dark Knight Returns style animated movie. If you guys saw the 2-part animated Dark Knight Returns movies, I would totally watch it if Marvel did one of those for this. 'Cause this is fucking awesome. As a huge Daredevil fan, this was everything I wanted and more. So that's why this was easily my pick of the week. Look at that. Another half-hour episode of Comic Chasers. Man, I never get tired of yapping about comics. But it was another pretty big stack of comics for me this week. But like I said, next week, thankfully, it'll be pretty light. We only have 2 books from what I can see next week. So we'll be talking about those 2 trades, Zatanna Bring Down the House and Judd McKay's X-Men Volume 1. So look forward to that. And like I said, don't forget to tell me your thoughts on any of these comics and anything I possibly missed out on in the comments down below as always. And don't forget to do all the usual YouTube things. Leave this video a like. And if you're new to the channel, be sure to hit that subscribe button and hit that notification bell so you don't miss a single brand new episode of Comic Chaser or the podcast and main attraction of this channel, our podcast, the Channel Chasers Podcast, where myself and my boys, Brian and Tony, all talk about and review various new TV shows and movies that catch our eye. So be on the lookout for that. And until next time, guys, I hope you've enjoyed this shot of pop culture. This has been Comic Chaser, and I'll catch you guys next time. Peace.